That's a little mic check. 1, 2. Maybe I'll speak with more voice. Can you hear this? Okay, that's good. Très bon. Thank you.
Next to classics, comparative mind. It's not at all. But I work on Good evening, everyone.
Good evening, John.
Good to see you. A lot of familiar faces and some unfamiliar faces. So if this is your first time, welcome. My name is Chi-Jang, and I'm with the temple. And this evening, we have a very special visitor, Ben Connelly, right here, live on stage, who I've met for the first time a couple hours ago. And we've just been engaging in some great food and conversation and getting to know one another a bit. Yeah. And so it's kind of a query of how to introduce Ben. I don't know if any of you know of him, but he's from the Minnesota Zen Meditation Center. And he began his practice. I did a little investigation on you, my friend. He began his practice there in 2001. He was ordained as a priest in 2009 and received Dharma transmission in 2015. Now he's a gentleman who seems to cast a wide net in his teachings. From secular mindfulness, teaching to police groups, also to, what other groups have you been up to?
Oh, it's lots of multi-faith work.
Multi-faith work, yeah. So he's out there, and what I appreciate about his work is that it's not just scholarly work, but work about oneself and work about oneself in the context of the world, right? Of all the beauty and all the difficulties. So with that, thank you for being here, and I'm looking forward to hearing what you have to say.
Thank you so much. Thank you, Chi-Jang. It's really lovely to be here. I'm looking around, seeing some old familiar faces, which is very sweet, and some folks I probably haven't met. As I've been on traveling, we got a little bit of extra. We'll sort that out. We have a magical techno wizard in our midst. I've been traveling for a couple weeks, maybe? Yeah, a couple weeks, talking about this book that I've written called Inside the Flower Garland Sutra, and have been to many different practice places. But as I was coming here, I started to get bombarded with emails from teachers that I know saying, "Oh, you're going to Arbor Zen Center. I love that place." I started, the guiding teacher at the Zen Center where I teach, Ted O'Toole, he began his practice here. And a couple of my other friends, Mushin Patricia Ikeda, some other teachers all just reaching out saying, "Oh, you have to say hi to Haju," and "Oh, what a wonderful place." So thank you for making a wonderful thing happen. You might be like, "Well, I just got here for the first time today," but you're still making it happen, because the Dharma only happens because people embody it. So when you show up and do that, that's how it happens. So I'm really grateful that it's happening here, and it feels very beautiful. I've just been here. I arrived from Philadelphia a couple hours ago. So yes, really grateful to be here. And this evening, I think the plan is to be together for about an hour and a half. And is everyone able to hear me right now?
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Okay. So my plan is to talk for a little bit to introduce the material, and then have a short period of meditation, and then I'll do some more talking about the material, and then I'll see if maybe we can have some dialogue about what I'm bringing to you. That's my plan. So I'm focusing on the material in this book that I wrote called Inside the Flower Garland Sutra, so I just want to introduce the basic material. The Flower Garland Sutra is a very influential Mahayana Buddhist sutra from the middle of the first millennium. So it was compiled from a lot of other texts and then made into kind of one thing about 1,500 years ago in India. In India, the name is Avatamsaka Sutra. In China, it's called the Huayan Jing, Huayan, which means flower garland. In Korea, Hwaom, and in Japan, Keigon. So, and I'm giving you those terms because I will start referring to Huayan quite a bit. So that just means flower garland. So, what's up? Next step?
We want to
Try again.
We want to trade you.
Okay, I will play that game. This one. Oh, we got a little scratchy. All right. All right. Well, that's very noisy. Hold on. I know you all are capable of deep states of meditative concentration. So watching me play with the microphone is like probably a deeply meaningful experience for all of you. Okay. I think we should be a little more settled there. So, we have the Flower Garland Sutra, and the Flower Garland Sutra gave birth to a whole Buddhist tradition in China that was very influential called Huayan Buddhism. And Huayan is still a thriving phenomenon in China, and it has substantial monasteries in that tradition in both Korea and Japan. In the US, maybe less so, but the influence of Huayan is very great. And I'll be talking about what the teachings are about and how their implications for our lives, and how also they show up in the way that you may practice already if you're involved in Buddhist practice. So then we have the Flower Garland Sutra, which is the longest sutra in the Buddhist canon. It's, I just learned, I was teaching a course in New York a few days ago, and I learned from a Chinese person that it has 1.5 million Chinese characters, which, if you're not a mathematician, is a lot. So it's about 1,500 pages in a large volume, small print, Western text. So it's kind of daunting. The Huayan tradition is composed of much, much shorter, very philosophical text. So the sutra itself is very literary, it's expansive, it's beautiful, it's psychedelic, it's overwhelming, it's got a lot of stories. And then the Huayan tradition is kind of takes the stories and extracts the philosophy from it. And they're pretty philosophical. And then the actual book that I've written is a commentary on a Korean text, which is 210 Chinese characters long. And I feel really smart because that's a lot easier than 1.5 million. Also mathematically accurate. So, and I write about how I came to know this text at the beginning of the book, but I'm not going to share that story here. So anyway, the Korean text called the Ocean Seal Chart, or the Song of Dharma Nature, or the Seal of the Huayan One Vehicle Dharma Realm, is the subject of the book. And the idea is that short text, which is 30 lines of poetry, 7 characters each, is intended to be a compact summation of all the themes of Huayan and the Flower Garland Sutra. So then it's like we have expansive, we come down to a small size, and then we unpack. This is kind of the way we play with literature in the Buddhist tradition often, when we're not just being totally silent, which is probably way better anyway. So I'm just going to ring a bell, and we'll be silent for an hour and a half. No. So the themes of the sutra that I'm going to talk about, the sutra and the tradition, they have some distinctions, but I'll sort of collapse them here at this time. Abundance, interdependence, appreciation for and enjoyment of sensual experience and sensual pleasure. Those of you who've read a lot of early Buddhism might think, well, that's different. And it is. So abundance, interdependence, appreciation and celebration of sensual pleasure and experience, social engagement, taking care of particular things, and diversity of people, practices, needs, and capacities. So I think this material has some really timely medicine, especially in looking at how, is a lot of looking at how practice exists in the social sphere. And it seems like you really can't not be in a social sphere. Even if, I know people who are like, I'm gonna live off the grid, and have actually gone and lived in the woods and like chopped their own wood. They're still engaging in the social sphere. That's just how you did it. So if I say I'm never talking to my family again, that's how I'm being in relationship to them. You can't end relationships. That's one of the basic ideas of Huayan, is relationship is what you have, always and only. So, I'm going to, I don't really have a smooth way to fit this in, but because this is based on a Korean text, I am not trained in a Korean tradition. I'm a Soto Zen priest, which is a Japanese tradition. So I interviewed a number of Korean practitioners and read many Korean sources to try and be informed and respectful of the tradition as I work with this material. And I did come across this story, which is about one of the teachers in the lineage that is here. So the teacher's name is Zen Master Su Bong. I think that's correct. So anyway, I'm going to read you this short story. And this is just sort of to place us in relationship of this material to this place and the Buddhist practice that is done here. So Mushin Patricia Ikeda was trained, and her originally practiced here. This was her original practice place. And she sent me many stories when I was arriving here about all the crazy stuff that she was doing here in the 70s. Anyway, Mushin Patricia Ikeda was trained in a Korean Sun Zen tradition and shared this story with me. In the temple, they would chant a Hwaum mantra. So Hwaum is different than Zen, so they're supposed to be different. But here they are at the Zen temple, the Sun temple, chanting Hwaum mantra. The mantra is Hwaum Song Jung. So a student asked the teacher, Zen Master Su Bong, why are we chanting a Hwaum mantra? That isn't Zen practice. The teacher chanted Hwaum Song Jung and said, how is this not Zen practice? In one swoop, Su Bong showed that Zen practice means doing what you are doing with your whole being, and then add that within each Dharma or all Dharmas. And this is one of the themes of Huayan that I normally don't talk about. There's only so many things you can say, but it is intended to include every kind of Zen practice. Everyone is celebrated, everyone is honored, because people are different. We have a diversity of people, practices, needs, and capacities. So I want to talk a little bit about abundance, which is one of the themes of the sutra. So the sutra is abundant with beautiful images. There's countless buildings built of diamonds and universes full of jewels and bodhisattvas with thousands of them, all named with resplendent names, bedecked in flowers and sitting on lotus calyxes, floating in oceans made of jewels that reflect the light of the universe, which is emanating from the mind of the Buddha sitting. Okay, well, you get the idea. It's very expansive and very images. In the flower garland tradition, we see the Dharma. The Dharma is encountered through the senses of also smell, hearing, but not so much hearing of words that are teaching, but actually just the Dharma is the truth. Our senses are revealing the truth to us moment to moment. So there's this abundance of images. There's a celebration of abundance. There's teachers who teach by just giving things away all the time. So in the text that I comment on in the book, the Ocean Seal Chart, there's a set of lines that say, the abundant manifestations of wish fulfillment are inconceivable. This rain of jewels benefits all life, filling all space. All beings benefit according to their capacities. A rain of jewels. I mean, I've seen rain. It's like the whole air is full of these droplets. Everyone, a jewel. Wow. So I often, when I do a lot of activist work, so I work with a lot of people who are focused on countering racism, police brutality, patriarchy, transphobia, climate catastrophe, these kind of things. And the theme of abundance comes up a lot, of the value of seeing the world as a place of abundance, so we don't act like people who are desperate to hold on to things out of a perspective of scarcity. So in particular, I hear this a lot when I'm working with indigenous people. So I spent quite a bit of time trying to stop the construction of the Line 3 pipeline in northern Minnesota under the leadership of a number of Anishinaabe women. And the theme of abundance came up again and again, to just be in the woods by the headwaters of the Mississippi River and just see that what was here was enough and was complete. And we didn't need to focus on extracting to try and get more and more for ourselves and hold on. And I found a line in the book Black Elk Speaks, which is the recorded sayings of a Lakota elder. And one of his friends in the book, Luther Standing Bear, says, "Only to the white man was the world a wilderness full of savage people. To us, the earth is bountiful, and we are surrounded by the blessings of the great mystery." So many, many indigenous teachers, maybe some of you have read Robin Wall Kimmerer's Braiding Sweetgrass. She's a Potawatomi biologist and naturalist. And she has this beautiful book that's just trying to help people see that if we bring the view that there is abundance here, it can put us in a position to be less extractive, less clinging, less individualistic. So this can be a powerful medicine for many of the crises we're living in. And I am aware that you might think, yeah, but people don't have enough food and people don't have shelter and we don't have enough, so I hear all that, but actually we have enough food to feed everybody. I'm pretty sure that's a known thing. Like, if the people of the world just said, we want to feed everyone and we're going to do it, we could do that. And the reason it doesn't happen is people are not choosing to do it. Likewise, every major American city could house all the people in those cities. It's not a matter of resources. So this, I don't know, I think there's something for us in an abundance view, and these teachings help us to go in that direction. One other angle on abundance in the text, though, is that in this passage that I cited that says this rain of jewels benefits all life, filling all space, all beings benefit according to their capacities. All the Korean commentators I found said the jewels represent skillful means. So what this means is the world is absolutely full of people who can offer something beneficial, and immensely and mind-bogglingly and beautifully full, because a rain of jewels sounds pretty immense, mind-boggling and beautiful, right? And you might think, really? Well, from a Buddhist perspective, if there is sentience, there's the capacity to do something beneficial. So any sentient beings always, in any moment, can do something beneficial. And this is very clear. The Buddha meets every single person, even mass murderers, profoundly traumatized people. And every time he approaches them with utter confidence in their ability to do something conducive to liberation. So this, maybe it's a matter of faith, but I actually think, why not? Couldn't everyone, even if you're I've been in the middle of a horrible argument when I'm acting like a total jerk and been like, wait a minute, I don't have to do this. So there are 8 billion people right now. Every one of those people, every single moment, when you wake up and when you go to sleep and throughout the whole in between, has the capacity to offer something beneficial. That is, a rain of jewels is an insufficiently spectacular expression for how amazing that is. And what if we go through life being everywhere you go, they're wow, all these people who can offer something beneficial. What if you treat people that way? I think it might be a little more fun, unless you start demanding and expecting, and then that's hard. But if we just moment to moment give people that grace and and trust that there is some possibility for us. I think it's good. So I'm going to talk about some more themes in a little bit: interdependence, particularity, and social engagement. But I think it'd be nice to just hang out with abundance for a minute. So I'm going to suggest we have a little meditation practice together. And in the Soto Zen tradition, our meditation practice is like 98% doing very little. Certainly no one is giving you any instructions. But we're just here for the night. So I'm going to do a little guided meditation. And then at some point, I'm going to stop doing that and we can just be quiet. So this is a meditation related to abundance. So I just invite you to find some position that feels stable, where you can have some uprightness. Try and let your body settle, but find a little bit of energy along the spine if you can, lifting, opening and expanding. We can just let the eyes close, because we'll be doing some visualization, and let the attention settle in the sensations of breathing in the belly. Now I'm going to invite you to engage your imagination, your capacity to recollect, and just think of things that have happened recently that were supportive and sustaining to you. So this could be anything from a conversation with a friend to a spoonful of oatmeal, no matter how large or small, and you can just start to remember and imagine as many things as you want to. If it's a small number of things, you can imagine in more detail. Things that have happened recently that were supportive and sustaining to you. In any way. It could be very distant. You'd be like, oh, the sun. That was good to have that one around. You can use visual imagination or words. Whatever way is most natural to you. We can just let this imagination go, let the attention rest in the sensations of the breath, knowing the sensations of the body at this time. And now I'm going to invite you to notice things that are here in this moment, or at whatever moment you're noticing, that are seen, felt in the body, felt as emotions, heard, thought, smelled, or tasted, that are supportive and sustaining to you. Just notice things that are here right now that are supportive and sustaining. Now we can let go of this particular focus and just rest in the whole of what is here. So the seen, the felt in the body, emotion, sound, thoughts, smells, tastes. Just letting awareness rest in awareness for a few minutes. enjoyed being here with you. I am trained to think of meditation as being together. That's how I do it. So I'm going to talk about some more themes here. Interdependence. So this is, generally speaking, what most people who know something about Huayan and the Flower Garland Sutra think of when they think of the sutra, interdependence. And this is one of the reasons that the Huayan teachings in the Flower Garland Sutra are one of the main inspirations, or frequently referred to by the Vietnamese teacher Thich Nhat Hanh, who was really looking for a way to have like a modern and eventually a postmodern Buddhist movement that was socially engaged, true to the tradition, and very inspiring teacher, certainly for me and many other people. And he drew very heavily on Huayan, in particular on the teachings about interdependence. So he often saying something like, look at a piece of paper and you can see that it contains the wood from a tree, and so it contains the sun, because the tree wouldn't exist without the sun. So it contains the soil, because you wouldn't have a tree without soil. And then if we're really smart, we go, what are the little things underneath the earth that connect all the trees now? Mycelium. Yeah. Those people. So this way of saying that all the things on which something depends are in it is very much a Huayan teaching. So, and just undergirds a huge amount of his work. So, and of course, the themes of social engagement that we'll get to in a little bit are very much there. So, in the text I'm commenting on here, we get a series of lines that says, within one is all, within many is one. One is all, the many are one. Within one mote of dust is contained the 10 directions. Within each phenomena, it is also thus. Immeasurable distant eons are one moment of mind, and one moment of mind is immeasurable eons. So what we're talking about is like any particular thing you think is a thing, so like a thumbnail or a sound, or a car sound if you're thinking of it that way, or a window, or any moment of mind, which is like awareness of a sound, or an emotion, or a thought, or the word thumbnail. All of that, any one of those particular things and every other particular thing like it, contains all of space everywhere and everything that space contains, and all of time. So that's nice. It's a very together. Nothing is left out. And the basic, there are many, the sutra will evoke this through literary means of like showing connections and describing them. The Huayan texts will describe it in a philosophical manner. They use many, many strategies, but the most common one is to just say, well, you couldn't have any particular thing if anything in the universe was left out, because the web of causality is unbroken. So it's not like there could just be some bird that flew across the sky above Ann Arbor, Michigan yesterday. Like that can't be removed from the totality of the universe. It is in it. And it's part of a vast web of connections that produces everything. So any particular thing is always deeply involved in producing everything else, and there's nothing left out. So it's like the utterly mind-bogglingly vast everythingness is always present in any particular thing. And I don't know about you, I don't usually treat every particular thing as if it's a manifestation of the entire universe. Oftentimes I'm just like, you're either in my way or I want you. I mean, that's basic Buddhism, right? You know, the mind, there's some kind of thing happening here. The mind objectifies it, it categorizes it, then it starts to categorize it. Is it something I want or I don't want? And then we suffer. So, but what if we just view each particular thing as an absolutely precious expression
of the entire universe. Every single thing. Even the things that maybe you really don't like, or the people you think, I would like to put you outside. They can't be outside. There's no outside. There's only the whole. So maybe I'll just do a short reading about this. So at the end of the Flower Garland Sutra, there's this section with 53 different teachers, and they're an extremely diverse array of people, and I will get into that a little bit more. But one of the things that's noticeable is a lot of them are women, which there have been women teachers throughout the entire all Buddhist canons, but there are a whole lot of them in this sutra, like more than is usual, I'd say. And people of a lot of other different kind of interesting social locations, but that's particularly pertinent. The gender is pertinent here. Empress Wu is widely considered the only female sovereign in the history of China. 5,000 or 6,000 years of recorded history. So Empress Wu is widely considered the only female sovereign in the history of China. She was closely associated with Huayan and drew authority from claiming the power of the Avatamsaka Sutra's main icon, Vairochana Buddha. I do not think theocratic government is a good idea. That's for sure. However, there is something inspiring in the fact that this singular matriarchal figure in Chinese history drew authority from these particular teachings. This authority was surely related not only to the many powerful female teachers in the final chapter of the Avatamsaka, but also to the Huayan idea that each part contains the whole. Fatsang was one of the 6 great teachers of the Huayan tradition, and he was the Empress Wu's teacher, Buddhist teacher. He was looking for a way to convey the interdependence and non-obstruction that define Huayan. He built a small room whose walls were all mirrors, also the ceiling and the floor, I think, placed a lamp and a Buddha statue inside, and entered with the Empress. In the endless reflections, she realized the vastness of their relationship. After they had some time to get accustomed to the spaciousness, Fatsang held out a small crystal ball. They looked inside the tiny reflective object and saw the entire space of repeating Buddha's selves and light in the palm of his hand. I don't know if any of you are familiar with the Japanese artist Yayoi Kusama, who makes infinity mirror rooms. I talk about them in the book. All I'm going to say is, if you can go in one, I highly recommend it. They're pretty amazing. So, yeah. So that illustration was really to show spatially and visually the teaching, which is very characteristic of this, of the Huayan tradition. And then I want to read a little bit about the temporal part, because immeasurable distant eons are one moment of mind, and one moment of mind is immeasurable eons. So, when we sang, the author of the Ocean Seal Chart, which this book is a commentary on, the author's name is Wisang. He's one of the great figures in Korean Buddhist history. When Wisang traveled to China for the Dharma, he met a woman named Sunmyo who fell in love with him. He told her that his vow of celibacy meant he could not requite her love, and her ardor to protect him on his path transformed her into a dragon. After years of caring for him on his travels, she became a great stone, hovering over invaders outside one of the first temples he founded. She is perched there still, a great stone guardian overlooking the temple of the floating stone, Buseoksa, near Yeongju City in Korea. The times of myth, of history, and of the present can collapse in a good tale. Trauma, too, can make the interpenetration of times vivid. Yesterday, someone described being overwhelmed by emotions during an argument with a friend. Suddenly, they had the jarring experience of being a 3-year-old child, feeling the same rage and the same need to hold someone at bay who won't say no that was showing up in their present life. This collapsing of time and identity rang true to my own experience when I was receiving treatment for post-traumatic stress. Somehow, I could be totally aware of my own bodily sensations, my own present moment sensory environment, my own agency and adulthood, and also absolutely be the terrified child consumed by shame, terror, and rage, who in linear time had grown up 30 years ago. Teachings on karma have much in common with contemporary theories of trauma. So does the Hawaiian emphasis on the interpenetration of past, present, and future. Scientific data show the deep relationship between a child struggling to find food and safety in an impoverished neighborhood and an adult being pushed into a prison cell. Understanding karma can help us know the importance of our actions. Knowing interdependence opens up space for compassion and shows that we can create conditions for freedom for everyone. So this brings me, so all this interdependence shows up in the form, there are many different angles that Hawaiian texts take. They like lots of angles. Every possible thing they will include. But everything shows up in the particulars. So there's an enormous emphasis in the tradition that shows up on taking care of particular things. And this is pretty novel. So in early, especially in Indian Buddhism, there's a lot of emphasis on looking at the contents of consciousness, how consciousness is making our experience, how it's making our suffering, how it's making our liberation. It's being like, oh, there's aversion here. If you've ever practiced like in an insight Buddhist tradition, you learn, oh, here's aversion. Now there's desire, oh, I'm seeing sloth, or I'm seeing tiredness, or I'm seeing frustration, or I'm seeing distraction, or naming, categorizing. And then out of the Hawaiian, we get an emphasis on like taking care of actual, what we would normally think of as material things. So I'm trained in Soto Zen. We spend a lot of time like learning how to trim candles, light candles, take care of cushions. We get up in the morning and we meditate and then we clean the building together. I have friends Japanese friends who've trained at the main training temples there, and they're like, most of the training was cleaning. They're like, we never read any sutras. We don't do that. We clean. We take care of what is in front of us. When I arrived at this temple, I was outside the gate and I could hear people sweeping. It's not an accident. If we practice taking care of particular things, especially ones we think aren't important, we can start to realize that nothing is left out, and that the people we want to ignore should not be left out, and the people we want to cast out cannot be cast out. And I was reading Hannah Arendt. Seems like a good time to be reading Hannah Arendt. Those of you who know Hannah Arendt, yes. Those who don't, I will tell you, Hannah Arendt is a Jewish philosopher who escaped from Europe in the late 30s to the United States, and spent a great deal of energy investigating how authoritarianism occurs and how to prevent it. And she, an amazing thinker. But she did once say this simple thing: even the smallest act in the most limited circumstances bears the seed of boundlessness. Even the smallest act in the most limited circumstances bears the seed of boundlessness. So similar to this teaching that within one is all, within many is one. And her particular concern is that authoritarianism, we want to think it's about like a person, or it's about a bunch of evil people. But ultimately, it's about a large number of people who do a lot of small things over a period of time that creates the conditions for vast suffering, oppression, and violence. And on the other hand, liberative activities work the same way. You want to be like, oh, maybe there'll be a savior. It's probably why Thich Nhat Hanh said maybe the next Buddha will be the community, the Sangha. because he didn't want us waiting for a savior. He wanted people to realize that we together can do something liberative. It's possible. It's always possible. So you can't do it tomorrow, really, but you can do it now. Is the quality of your heart and mind right now one that's about compassion, about attention, about care? We can always be generating that. And if you're like, no, I can't, I hate that person. Yes, you can, because you can care about your hatred. It's painful. It's painful to hate. We can care. Okay, one more theme. This is we're flowing along into social engagement, diversity of practice. So I think I'll just tee this up by reading from near the beginning of the book. The Gandhavyuha Sutra, or Entry into the Realm of Reality, is one of the 3 key standalone sutras that were eventually incorporated into the Avatamsaka, which is a big, huge compilation. The Gandhavyuha constitutes the final and longest chapter of the Avatamsaka. It tells the story of a young man, Sudana, who commits his life to liberation from suffering for everyone and everything, and of his long and wondrous pilgrimage on the path. He meets with 53 teachers, each of whom shows him a staggering level of spiritual attainment, and then ends their meeting by saying they can't possibly know the way to liberation, and each one sends him on to visit another teacher to keep practicing. The teachers include beggars, queens, boys and girls, monks, nuns, rich men, mathematicians, sailors, perfumers, goddesses, bark-clad outcasts, folks who change genders, people dressed in rags, those bedecked in jewels, a prince who almost loses his life working to free all the prisoners in his land, and great bodhisattvas, Avalokiteshvara, Manjushri, and Samantabhadra. They teach in myriad ways, all different and appropriate to themselves and those they meet. They teach by feeding people, through physical touch, by making beautiful scents and palaces, by writing, by teaching meditation, by expounding the Dharma, by revealing suffering, and by guiding people through storms. This sutra provides inspiration for those of us looking to create multicultural, engaged Buddhist communities. So someone came to me during a Dharma interview recently and they were like, do you think to really be a good practitioner you have to be a scholar? And I was like, why on earth would I think that? No, I have like friends out on the West Coast who are abbots at big temples who are like, I never read any Dharma books, and I never did. And it's great. They're wonderful. You know, or people be like, well, you go to a lot of protests. Do I have to go to protests? I have no idea what anyone has to do. I don't know what they have to do, and I certainly have no means to compel them to do it. But this sutra is saying, like, people can do all kinds of things, and all of them can be things that are conducive to liberation. And people already do. The abundance view is like to shift, and I spend much more time, well, it's hard, you know, because I have a telephone. These things have like infinite bad news. Did you know that? It's like a bad news machine. But anyway, I try and not dwell in the bad news machine. I try and be informed. But I look around for people who I can hear or engage with who are doing amazing and liberative things. And then that's the world I live in, is that kind of world, because that's where I am. And I know a lot of people who just approach their lives this way, and it seems like it's pretty good because you get inspiration, you get support. So, yeah, I mean, but that's just one way in and of itself. So, you know, and it's not so much about like, I have to find my way. Oh, that sounds hard. Just look around. You don't have to find something amazing. It's just, what if when you're eating, you can just eat? You're walking, you can hear birds. When you're talking to someone, you can actually try and understand them. When you feel sad, just know that you're sad and care about it. Even the smallest act in the most limited circumstances bears the seed of boundlessness. I think so. So I appreciate your attention to this talk. Thank you very much. And I wanted to leave a good amount of time to hear other voices. So yeah, I welcome questions and also just reflections. And could be really anything. So I just want to, before I start saying them, I want to kind of say a few things about it. One is there may be people who like know a lot about Buddhist philosophy, and if you ask one of those questions, I may be able to answer with something. But I don't want people to be like, oh gosh, I guess that's what we're doing. So you can do that. Or if you're just like, geez, you know, no, I don't have any friends who do anything beneficial. It's terrible. What do I do? You know, you could, you know, so it's like, what's real to you? You know, what is important to you is really what I would like to be talking about with you. And the other thing is, there are a lot of people here. It's kind of a large room, so I'm just going to encourage everyone to do your best to think what I am doing is trying to be heard by all these people, because that will be a kindness to us all if we speak with voices that are full. So I see you are raising your hand.
I was just thinking, you said even...
Oh yeah, this is, okay. Well, now you can whisper. We got a mic.
There you go.
You said those that we want to cast out the most are those we absolutely cannot, or something to the effect of that, right?
You can't, I would say you can't cast anything out, really.
Can't cast anything out?
Yeah, so they're not a particular category. It's just everything is connected. Mm-hmm. So.
Well, I was just thinking, like everyone, even, you know, those who commit, you know, terrible acts, things like that, everyone has a story. I try to believe that, you know, everyone's actions, you know, can be explained by circumstance to some extent. Anyone who to commit, you know, a terrible act is to be lost. And whether or not I act on that belief is one thing, but well, that's what I try to believe, I guess.
Yeah, that sounds like a helpful framing. You know, one way to think about this, the situation is like we're in a vast web of conditioning, and every moment you're contributing to all that conditioning. So it's like if you're contributing compassion, that's good. Some of it, if you're contributing despair, maybe that's not so helpful, so that you can be compassionate towards despair. But everyone's in the same boat. So if someone does an incredibly harmful thing, they put that into the vast web of conditioning, and we all arrive with our conditioning, as you say. So yeah, we have this little moment of agency, and having some compassion is generally going to be helpful. So thank you. Yeah. So I see someone else wants to say something. I'll let.
Okay. So I wrote this down, what you said, any one thing is a manifestation of the entire universe and there's only the whole. So I wanted to ask you about that. Because you also included ideas, actions, and objects into this. So all of this is the whole and all of it's connected. Okay, so my question is, how do new things come into being? How do new ideas come into being? That's one half of the question. How do new things and new ideas come into being if everything is part of the whole? And the other half of the question is, if everything is the entire universe and if everything is the entire whole, then is there free will?
Yes, very good. So, fortunately, I know the answer. So when we use a rhetoric that is like the whole shows up in the form of a particular thing, it's like the philosophy is very, very complex. So I'm going to do my best to say something helpful, but you want to understand that the basis for this is many, many people will spend hundreds of hours deeply studying and barely understand it. So I wish it wasn't that way in some times, but I like the practice of engaging with philosophizing with people. But just so if this kind of comes across as like partial or incomprehensible, sorry, stay with the practice is what I recommend. But I say unequivocally, Buddhism is not deterministic, and the idea of free will is never discussed but never questioned. So the absolutely central and inescapable idea of Buddhism is that there's suffering and you can do something about it. The Four Noble Truths, that's the most simple summation of it. So there's suffering, you can do something about it. So there must be some agency in there. The fact that there is also no self while you have agency creates some thorny philosophical problems for all of us. Anyway, in terms of how is this not deterministic, because although we say within one is all, within many is one, so the entire web of dependency creates any particular thing, it actually hasn't created a particular thing. It's created a particular appearance. And the appearance is not absolutely real. So every single thing that we think is real is not absolutely real. This is a central basic idea of Mahayana Buddhism that I should not talk about because it freaks people out. But the idea is everything we think is a thing is only made into an apparently distinct thing by the tendencies of our mind. It's not an ontologically real thing, but it matters. It matters to us. So like, it really matters to me that I have this body. I love being alive. It's like awesome, and I care. And like, I suspect, actually, I know that when I get really ill, I'll be like, I don't like it as much, you know. So that's real. At the same time, I know that and I have a sense from Buddhist philosophy that this particularity, which is an expression of the whole, is not an absolutely real thing, and I only experience it in this way because of my conditioning. And so it's not determined. And it is not determined because it's not real. And so the thing is, we only have flux. There's a massive, incomprehensible flux happening all the time, and it's always doing something. And our minds turn it into a bunch of things, and then we get fixated on the things, and then we suffer. But we can learn to not fixate on the things, or we can learn to recognize that they're not absolutely real, which are two basic Buddhist strategies. And from that, there's actually enormous creativity and freshness, because we're like, I'm not sure what this is, but I can respond, and that's fun. So. All right, well, I got out of that unscathed, I hope. No follow-ups. Thank you, great question, really wonderful, wonderful. Other reflections or questions?
Good evening. I am so blessed to be here tonight and to hear you talk, because two things actually. One you brought up and it made me aware of it, and the second one is I've been fretting over this for the last few days. I'm not a reader. I'm not a scholarly type. And I've been so, I wouldn't say fixated, but worried. Like, how am I going to actually achieve, the Buddhist practice without, saying, not reading all the sutras and because it's a lot of information. I'm very bad at retaining, and I'm even worse at reading. And that's been on my mind for the last few days now, because my better half here loves to read, and she's just absorbs it like a sponge, and it's such a blessing because she can translate it for me, but she keeps telling me, like, here, read this. This is awesome. And I want to, but I have to literally chisel out a moment of time specifically for that purpose, because it requires extra super work. So I've been like so worried, and I'm so happy to hear you say what you said tonight, because I'm breathing a little easier. Excuse me. But also, I want to thank you because during our guided meditation, you asked us to relive something, recall a moment that nourished us. I couldn't do that. And I find that quite intriguing because I know that in every moment, the air in my lungs is nourishing, it's giving me life. But I was not able to recall, and a lot of good things happened. I got a lot of things accomplished, just in a matter of today alone. But I could not wholeheartedly say, recall a certain thing, moment, action, whatever, that actually was nourishing to me or that I can classify as nourishment. So thank you for opening my mind and my eyes to that fact, because now we'll be a little bit more conscious about it and maybe a little bit more scholarly inquisitive about it. So thank you. I'm truly blessed to have you here tonight.
Thank you. Thank you for the reflection. Yeah. Reading or no reading, there's many, many ways. So thank you. I would love to hear other voices. Maybe those people are like, I could never say anything in this big group of people. Those are the coolest. There's someone here. Okay.
Hi, thank you for speaking today. In your training, so you suggested a number of things that had been taught as sort of either a suggestion or something that has been found to be true, you've been taught. Is there anything that in your training that you'd found is a matter of debate or controversy? Or what do you think is the most common sort of things that are debated or uncertain within your training?
Oh, fun. I think one of the most live topics that I see now is the particularity of how to write ethics policies and institute them in Buddhist institutions. So I don't know anyone who thinks that we shouldn't have them, but there's just a lot of questions about how to do them, how they should be enforced, what are the categories of authority. So that by far, actually, I would say, in the discourse I'm involved in, is the most live. Another one is the degree to which Buddhist communities should be actively inviting institutionally people to engage in social engagement that might be categorized as political by some people. So the kind of things like, advocating for ending police reform or police abolition, or advocating for not having an authoritarian state. That's pretty live. So people are kind of debating about that, and I'm lucky because I just go, oh no, I'm not debating. I'm just saying, you could do it. It's pretty cool. So those are two that are very live in my life. Thank you.
So I was curious to hear you talk a little bit more about the delighting in sensual pleasure in this sutra, because you alluded to, of course, a core teaching, and we say in the Four Great Vows, desires are endless, I vow to end them, etc. So it sounds like there's some interesting twist. And as I was doing the visualization earlier, I was thinking about a peach that I ate earlier this week with a little bit of sherry vinegar on it. So we're yeah. So I wanted to hear a little bit about how this teaching situates sensual pleasure. And you kind of were hinting at maybe in some sort of different way than we might be familiar with, or that I'm familiar with.
Yeah. Peaches. I don't know if this is, I don't know if my scholarship is weak on this, but I remember there's a story in the Chinese canon about a same-sex couple of men who eat peaches together. And so peaches are sometimes used as a code for male same-sex relationship and sexuality. That's kind of a tangent, but it does relate to sensual pleasure and celebrating it. So but one, the sutra itself is just like, it's all this imagery that's extremely beautiful. And like one of the teachings, when I have do long workshops on it, I often read one of my favorite sections where this girl, she's described as a girl, so you get the sense in the context, maybe she's about 12, and she's this great, powerful teacher that all these people come to. And the pilgrimage Sutra comes to her and says, oh, can you teach me? And she lives in this unbelievably beautiful palace covered in jewels, and there's bells ringing of all different sounds, and there's perfume in the air, and she herself is incredibly beautiful. And he says, how do you do your practice? How have you attained this? And she says, look at the adornments of my palace. And he sees that Buddha is everywhere by just looking at how beautiful it is. So that's just one example, but there are many, many, many. There's also a teacher, a female teacher named Vasu Mitra, who actually teaches through erotic touch, and there's another male who teaches through touching. So I unequivocally think it is entirely inappropriate for Buddhist teachers to use sexuality as a mode of teaching. But in the context of the sutra, there's something about, there's a lot of stuff in early Buddhism about a lot of the teachings are for monks, and they say, don't look at women, don't even look at them. So there's a lot of sort of embedded misogyny, denial of the body. It's a celibate tradition, so there's denial of childbirth. So there's this reclaiming of the erotic writ large, not only eroticism and sexuality, but like just the pleasure of the senses. And the idea really, it's related to the idea of abundance. Early Buddhism, there's an enormous emphasis on renouncing things as a way to get free. So all renunciation in Buddhism is about one thing, being free of suffering. It's not about like, oh, I'm cooler if I give more things up. It's just like you cling to things and you can give them up and then you're free. And I can say this is true. I'm a recovering addict and alcoholic. Thumbs up. I didn't like giving those things up at the time. It worked out really well. And many, many other things that I've given up and been like, I'm way more free. So this is very real to me. But on the other hand, with the flower garland, we say, what if we view the world with such a sense of abundance that we can totally appreciate all the wonder and the beauty and the pleasure of the moment, and we won't cling because we're like, yeah, no worries, it'll be great next too. It's just going to keep, abundance will continue to flower. So you eradicate clinging just by like trusting the wonder that keeps coming. And I think people who practice a lot will, they're just like, you do a lot of zazen and you go out and you look at a tree and you're like, I love you, tree. And it's beautiful. Well, this comes very naturally. So thank you. And we got time for more people if more people want to say things or ask things.
Hello. I think you might have partially just answered my question. Which one thing I'd been curious about and have talked with priests and monks about in the past is about how getting more involved in trying to learn about teachings and perhaps getting involved with like a Buddhist path can potentially lead to more clinging, and that there could be, situations where by taking certain vows, you're sort of clinging in a way to teachings and to those vows. And that sometimes if you cling to teachings in a certain way, that you can end up acting in ways that are unskillful. Like, for example, reincarnation. And to cling to the idea of that, one might start thinking that in a way it doesn't matter if someone dies because they'll be reincarnated, and that someone might then kill said person with that mindset, just as kind of an extreme example. It sort of seems that abundance might be a way of addressing this sort of clinging, or, perhaps allowing one to let go in a certain way. I guess, I'm not sure, but I was curious, given that, you've been very involved in studying these sutras and such, how you might suggest not clinging to even the idea of not clinging.
There you go. That's a good one. Diamond Sutra. Yeah, well, from a really minute perspective, like looking at the textual tradition of Buddhism, like clinging is happening so much and so fast. Like any moment of consciousness of an average human sentient being, there are thousands, if not millions, of abhidharmic elements of clinging occurring in every second. So the fact that I cling to teachings, it's like surprise. You know, it's like, oh, I got a robe. Pretty cool. Pretty cool with my robe. Yeah, so it's just like part of the deal. So anything can become an object of clinging, as you point out. And also we can just continually be curious and compassionate. Be like, oh, I'm clinging again. Look at that. I think, I'm so vegetarian. I'm the vegetarianist. I'm the vegetarianator or the veganator, whatever. So, you know, whatever it is, we can continually just look and look at the quality of clinging. Thinking about the idea that I cling it has some value, but it should always be pointing back to what is the emotional or affective experience of this, and can I be compassionate to that right now? And then maybe I can do that with other people too. So abundance gives you another lens. So the nice thing is you can have, Buddhism tends to sort of have reactions to things that they feel like we've gotten too far over on this renunciation side. Flower Garland Sutra. Flower Garland Sutra is too long. Zen. You know, Zen, there's no words. So you come to our Zen center, we actually give you some instruction. We haven't been excommunicated yet. So yeah, it's just another angle. I need many, many different angles. Just little parts of myself wants to hide. So thank you. Other voices?
No, I already spoke, but I just, kind of have something to say kind of related to what we're talking about. I'm, somewhat into fashion, but I've started to think that might be kind of, it might kind of go against my Buddhist practice. I don't know. I guess I was just wondering. I mean, I see it as a creative outlet, but it seems materialistic, And I'm just wondering what you might think about that.
Well, I own a house, I own a car, I own a lot of books. So, I don't know. Giving up materialism sounds pretty good. I mean, I would just look at what's the impact on your actual life and your relationships. That's what it comes down to. I can just say, I remember a story from a friend of mine who said, I was at a long session, that's like a meditation intensive retreat that's very, it's very intense. It was like a week-long thing, and she's like, it's getting really hard, and then the server came through to serve food, and she had bright red painted toenails, and it just made my day. So I feel like that has some kind of bearing. Some beauty is a good thing. Beauty is a wonderful thing. Yeah. Other voices?
Hey, thank you for your talk. You talked a little bit about your environmental justice and racial justice work, and I just wanted to hear you reflect a little bit more on that and like how the themes of that kind of reflect the work that you do back in Minnesota and here too, I guess.
Yeah, well, what can I say? My practice started out being very inward focused because I came to practice because I had a lot of behavioral and mental health problems. So I was just like really trying to become not really mean and not really miserable. And so that just took a lot of but at some point I was like, I feel good. I just feel good. And then I was like, well, there's a lot of suffering out there. So I'd gotten used to looking at suffering. And I was like, oh, it's here. And so, yeah, that just called to me. So, I I think for me, I focus on work that is about relationships. So I just look for ways to go and deeply hear people, oftentimes like very marginalized people. So I spend a lot of time practicing meditation at Black Lives Matter events in Minneapolis, because we had Jamar Clark was murdered, Philando Castile, George Floyd, Dante Wright, and I'm not going to just keep going. Anyway, there's a lot of opportunities to go and deeply listen. So deeply listening to marginalized communities, because my practice is to be present. So that's a real root. And then from that, I started to like meet and make relationships with people. And so then I get together with people, and we care and we love about each other. And then we see if we can do something to organize or help people. So I don't try and lead or organize things. I try and move with people. And I can recommend that method. It's good. But you might find something else yourself. Anyway, so it's kind of I could talk about this for ages. So that's just what's coming up right now. Thank you. I might have time for one more voice if someone wants to say something. Or not.
Thank you so much for your talk. I just want to piggyback off the last question. I've been doing a lot of work in extractive industries, so thinking like from an environmental justice lens. And you talked about this like concept of interdependence, which is something I've been really sitting with as I'm kind of trying to find my way. When you think about some of these like environmental justice issues, I find myself really bogged down in the interdependence of everything and trying to figure out like where to like best focus efforts towards action. I'm curious if you have any just thoughts on that.
Yeah, I think for me, one thing that really helps is just being like, I'm probably not going to figure out the best one, and I'm not going to figure out the right one, and I'll never really know whether it was the right one or the best one, because the universe is so big, I don't even begin to understand the impact of what I do or what anyone else does. So like the vastness of this like philosophy helps to get rid of the sort of like best, correct, all those words that can be very binding. And then it's just kind of like, well, I'm just doing this. So like right now I got a lot of emails in my email box about this, like we're trying to get a statement letter signed by a whole bunch of clergy people. And it's like, is this the best thing to do right now? I don't know. But, I'm doing it. And hopefully it's helpful. So, I mean, we do want to be discriminating. So Buddhism emphasizes like using our discrimination to determine how to spend our time and how to act in a way that's skillful. But it's good to aerate it, to take some of the pressure off. The details, of course, of your life are a mystery to me, so I couldn't speak to that. And I will say, like, for me, there's like a distinction between sometimes what I'm doing is I'm like, how can I create a context where people who are not talking to each other at all and are on different sides of the issue to be in some kind of relationship. So I'll be like bringing people from a whole bunch of different religious traditions that are like at odds and trying to find some way to be in space together. Might be like we're going to actually talk, or maybe it's too hard to talk, so we're just going to have a silent vigil. Or something like that. So that's like the bridging. And then on the other side, you might have something where it's like, we are getting people, we all pretty much agree, and there is a system of power over here, and we're going to do something that is like a counter. And kind of thinking about which one of those you're engaged in can be kind of helpful. Because, I mean, it seems like possible that more people could understand we live on a planet together and we care about each other and we could come together on that. And then other times it seems like maybe I just need to stand in front of a pipeline drill with the cops in front of me and sing some songs. So anyway, thanks for your work. All right. I'm very grateful to have this time with you. It's really sweet. I recognize that I did a lot of talking, and probably every one of you, I mean, your life is already amazing, and there's so much there could be so much to learn from. And I have utter confidence that you're doing a lot of wonderful things that are compassionate and kind. And that makes me really happy. And probably every one of us can do a little better. And that makes me happy too, because we get to do it together. That means there's possibility. So thank you very much. I'm going to offer a dedication of merit, and then I'm going to chant the 4 vows. And the way we have particular vows that we chant in a particular way, so you might kind of know them or you might not, but you might want to keep your ears open. If you want to chant along, that's great. You just got to listen and flow. Or you can just listen. Whatever's good. May all the benefit of our practice be an offering for the liberation of all beings throughout space and time. Beings are numberless, vowing to free them. Delusions are inexhaustible, vowing to extinguish them. Dharma gates are boundless, vowing to enter them. Buddha's way is unsurpassable, vowing to become it. All right, thanks everybody. Hope you have a lovely evening.
Love that version of the vows.
Are there announcements or something?
Thank you. So we're very grateful for spending time with us. And if you are interested in this topic and would like a book, there are some books out on the table and willing to sign them. We do ask for a donation for those books. And also to support Ben's work, any donation you would like to make could go in the fishbowl in addition to the books. Anyway, so those who are new to the temple, I would encourage you we have this schedule of events that you may be interested in. If you liked this discussion this evening, for example, we have a Lotus Sutra study group that is coming up starting next week, actually, next Tuesday with Chichong. So please consider that. There's an ongoing member sitting every Wednesday evening. We do sitting, a little bit of chanting, and at the moment, we are reading through Wisang's Ocean Seal diagram. So hopefully some of those members have joined us online this evening. So that's all of the announcements. Did you have anything else? How'd you see?
Are we having tea?
We're having tea. All right. Thank you for coming. Bye.